it's Anne. Thanks for stopping by. We're going to be talking about tags today, junk journal tags. And they are probably the most basic of our elements that we make to put in our junk journals, mainly because they can just be super, super pretty. And most importantly, they've got room on the back for us to write things. We decorate the front and we write our thoughts on the back. I think it's so important to really, really write in your journals, whether it's on the page themselves or on tags or cards. Because tags can be super pretty and they're interactive, they go into pockets and you pull them out and go, oh, look at that cool thing I said in 2019. They're interactive. They're just a really important element in the creative experience of our journals. And so I wanted to focus today on different ways that we can top our tags. Tags, by their very nature, have some sort of pull at the top, and it's super useful. You use it to, pull things out, and they're decorative as well. When you think of tags in the wild, before the days of QR codes and those barcode things, tags would be used on merchandise, and the ties would be to attach them to things. We still have tags on clothing and other things, not quite as many as we used to, but anyway. The tie is just part of the ethos of the tag. It's great to use ribbon. I love the way that ribbon looks sticking out of the top of a journal. If your tag is in a pocket, you just have a lot of this fluffy stuff coming out of the top. Using ribbon is super, but it's fun to have lots of other ways to top our tags too. So especially if you're new, this might be interesting to you. And if you've been in the junk journal world a while, stay with me, because you might see some new things. You might think of things in a different way, and you might go into the comments and add some of your own things that you like to use to top tags. Let's get to it. So again, ribbon is fabulous, but what I've done with these new ideas, let me set my coffee aside because I'm sure to upset it, which would upset me. There we go. That's gonna sit over in that area. I've put my ribbon alternatives into 4 different categories that I hope will help you sort of organize your thoughts as you approach this and maybe see things that you hadn't seen before. The first is in our fibrous things that we put on the top of our tags. Think beyond ribbon. Let me show you what I mean. Fabric is just a really nice, let's set that aside. You'll remember that. Just a little scrap of fabric is great to put in the top of a tag. And here's part of an old dishcloth. And what I'm gonna be doing in this is I'm gonna be showing you a lot of tags I've already made that have alternative tops, but we're also gonna be making a few. So we'll alternate between the making and just the showing. If we're using fabric in the top of our tags, it's nice to have kind of a long, a larger sort of hole to put it through, because that way our fabric doesn't bunch up as much. But what I like to do, and I did this in a recent video and somebody commented on it, so I'll show you again. I'm just going to put a little weight there. I like to tie, rather than tying the strip of fabric itself, I like to tie another like a piece of twine, a piece of dental floss, in this case, another strip of fabric to tie around the top like that. The reason being that it takes a little bit of the bulk out and your journal can lie a little more flat. There we go. And there's that little guy. Doesn't that look nice with that kind of kitcheny feel, or maybe just a kitschy feel? There we go. But a little bit of fabric is great. And tear it, you don't have to tear it, because then you get your threads nice and even, and you get a wonderful little bit of raveling there. Let's look at a few other ways that you can use fibrous, use different kinds of fabric. Here is a little strip of fabric that I pleated. It still has the little ravelly edges, but I've pleated it into a ruffle and zigzagged across the top and glued that down. Think about using cheesecloth. I think you can get cheesecloth, particularly around Thanksgiving time, in the cookware section of your grocery store, but you can also use gauze that you have in your own medicine cabinet. I can't remember that I've ever actually used gauze in bandaging a scraped knee around my house, but yet I seem to have a roll of gauze. I cut off a little strip, and that just makes a really nice little, using fiber in the top of a tag, but something kind of different. What about lace? Have you ever used lace as a tag topper? I love to use lace, and I use a lot of it. I bunch it together in the same way that I do the fabric and put a little tie around the top. But this was the original. This was the original of this. And this would be probably too wide. I mean, I could bunch it up and it'd be okay. But I wanted something a little bit more narrow. So have you ever ripped lace? I'm going to show you how easy it is to do. You do not need a tutorial on this, believe me. But just think about doing this. You have your nice wide lace, but it rips too. And you get a nice ravelly edge there. And it just looks great in a journal. It gives you just that little bit of tattiness that just adds character to your tag, and also, to your journal sticking out the top. So if you have a wide piece like a wide length of lace like this, or if you run across it in the thrift store, even though it looks wider than you might use, get it anyway, because you can rip it and it's going to be great in the top of a tag. What else do I have in thinking beyond ribbon? Here's another one with just a fabric tag with a little bit of fabric sewing it together. And here's one. This is a linen that gets really ravelly. But I sewed a little piece of lace. I kept it flat and I stitched it onto the card. And it just gives kind of a different look. This is linen, which is much more stiff. It doesn't bunch as easily as that thin cotton. But it's nice if you use a piece of fabric, if you can then incorporate some of that same fabric, as I did here with this linen, into the design of your tag. It gives a nice cohesiveness to it. So there's a few different ways that you can kind of think beyond ribbon. Let's move on to our next category. How about if we use paper for our tag topper, but we think of different paper types. And by that I mean, what about a little scrap of corrugated cardboard? I just stapled a tiny little strip of corrugated cardboard. I took the top layer of the cardboard off, so I exposed the fluting, and I kind of smushed it down so it was nice and flat. And then I just stapled it in place. It made a really nice and easy tag topper. Glued just a little bit of twine on there just to dress it up. I put the twine on top of that staple, but it really didn't need to be on top of there. I have no problem at all with the staple showing in something like this. But it's a kind of paper, but we don't often think of using corrugated cardboard, this different paper type, as a tag topper. Let's think about that. Let's think also, what if we had a little paper type that was a little tag like this, a tiny little tag? What if we used this tiny little tag as a tag topper? Here's a little card, but I'm going to turn it into a tag. And let's just glue this into place. I'm going to use my 3-in-1 glue here, otherwise known as Fabri-Tac, because I have Mod Podged this surface, so it has a slightly plasticized sheen to it, and I feel like the 3-in-1 glue is going to grab onto it a little bit better. Just as easy as that. This was in a pack of little tags that I got in the office supply section of the thrift store, and I just did a little bit of stamping and distressing on it, and it's a tag itself, but the tag becomes a tag topper. It's a different paper type. Let's look at another different paper type. Do you have any of these around? Tickets? What if you had a little tag that was in need of a tag topper, and you glued a ticket on that. I'm hearing some honking outside. Sorry about that. All of our doors are windows, and windows are open because it's a beautiful August day. So we're getting some neighborhood sounds here. This is just a little bit of book page, a little bit of stamping on a scrap of manila file folder. And let's just use that ticket, a different paper type, for a tag topper. We can easily, it adds a different shape. Put that in a little pocket. You can easily pull things out, and it just gives a little bit of a different spin. It's a creative way to use that different paper type. Here's another paper type. I had a tag I did, and I was experimenting with cutting some playing cards into letters of the alphabet. Marginally successful. I did like that A. And I had a few little scraps left over, and I thought, wow, when I was thinking about, different paper types, I looked at the scraps on my desk, and I thought, these playing cards are a different paper type. Why don't I use some of these scraps and have them for a tag topper? So this is going to be another case because of that plasticized coating. I'm going to use my 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac glue. You will find it marketed under those same names: Fabrifix, Fabri-Tac, or 3-in-1 glue. All made by Beacon, all very good, all the same. They are interchangeable. So there, that's good, and they're good for all of these Beacon glues, no matter what name happens to be on your store shelf or your Amazon cart. They are good for when you want something a little bit stronger or a surface that's not just paper. They're very good, as the name Fabri-Tac will tell you. They're very good about gluing fabric onto things. But this plasticized surface kind of needs a little bit more than glue stick or even my white wet glue. That back one is slightly larger than the one in front, but that's okay. I can just kind of center it and make it kind of frame. There's a little tag topper that sort of goes with this playing card motif. And I've got a nice little place to grab it. That's cute. It's a different paper type. So there's a few examples there. The next thing that we can think about in, where did I put these? Yeah, there we go. The next thing we can think about in thinking of different ways to top our tags is to think about different shapes. And what do I have here? This is one that I did some time ago. I have a bunch of things paper clipped together. This is a fun tag. I did this ages ago. And I just put a circle up there, and then I put a little pocket on the circle and put a ticket in the pocket. So it's a legitimate tag, even though it's off kilter. But I used this circle to make it kind of a pull, and it also broke the line, the traditional line around the edge of that tag. I love these. I call them off kilter tags. I made a bunch of them some time back, and I just love the idea of having this shape that we have elsewhere in the design of the tag, repeating that up here and having that act as the pull. So that's one shape that can give you a different pull. What about if we were going to use hearts? It's a little tag base that I made with these little punched, just with a paper punch, hearts. And I had some scraps of these left over. I think my glue surface here. I think my glue stick will work well enough for this. So I'm gonna repeat a little bit of the scraps there on this heart that I want to go up top. Trim off that excess. I'm excited about this project because I'm going to have a whole bunch of new finished tags that I can put into some of my journals that I'm going to be making this fall. Kind of looks like a little band-aid on that heart. That looks cute. And let's do the one that's going to go on the other side. Maybe I'll put that one over here. But you can see what we're doing. You know, the dominant shape on the base of the tag is that heart. And we just used a little bit of extra, and that's going to be the pull or the topper. There we go. I'm thinking I might want to have that green be there up top. Let me just stress the edge of that. Just so that doesn't look quite so raw. You know, let's have this heart be this topper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of glue together the top part of this heart. Is that going to work? I guess I really could have just applied it directly. To the tag, but I'm going to go ahead and do this. This is probably not the most efficient way of doing this. In the privacy of your own craft room, you can improve upon this process. But I think you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just putting that heart on the top. It repeats that shape, but it breaks the barrier of that edge, and it gives us a nice little topper for that tag. So that's a different way to use shapes. What are some other shapes that I have? What if you were going to fussy cut something? I had this little oddball, forlorn little journal card sitting around, and I thought, well, I could make that into a tag by fussy cutting a couple of flowers out of a garden book and using that as the shape that's up there. Shall I do that? Yeah, let me just use this. It becomes really the decorative focal point of what is now a tag. The general definition, I think, of a tag versus a card is that a tag has some kind of a pull top and sometimes a slightly different shape. Doesn't that dress that little guy up? I think that looks really, really cute. All right, there's another one done. Aren't we just clicking right through it? It's kind of amazing. So those are our shapes. Let's get to our final category. And I think I'm most excited about these because I think much of your creative exploration in topping your tags, I believe, is going to be in this last category. And that is not fiber, not paper, but other materials. Look around your craft room, and are there other materials there that you're not using for tag toppers that could become so? Let's take a look. Here's one that I did last fall. This is a little tag, and I do write on the backs of my tags. This is from one of my purely junk journals that I did last fall. I did an experiment where I saved all of the trash that came into our house for a whole week, and I used only that stuff to make journals. It was fun. If you're interested, I can do a link to my finished product there. But one of the things that was in the trash that week was plastic bags that we had for some. I think this was from our bagels. I cut a bunch of tiny little strips of that plastic sack, and I just that bag, and I just used that for a tag topper. And did I save that much of the bag from the landfill? No, a little bit. I did not make a big environmental impact that day, but I did have sort of a creative breakthrough, thinking there's lots of other things that we would throw away that really might make really nice craft supplies. So a little bit of that plastic to give, just sort of a different look. I like that little tag a lot. What are some other things that I've got over here? This is a tag that I liked a lot, but I hadn't figured out what I wanted to top it with. And then I was thinking about this idea, like we had done with our shapes, with our hearts and our circles, about repeating some sort of a visual that we'd used in the tag on the topper itself. And I thought, well, one visual I have here, this background, this was a gel plate print that I'd made in just my experimenting. I'm not very good at gel plate printing right now yet, but I really do enjoy doing it, and I've given myself a lot of really usable background papers. This was one that I had made using this produce bag, this mesh bag, and you can see there's a lot of paint on there. But I thought, what if I repeated this kind of, shadowy, distorted mesh by using some of this mesh bag as the topper. So let's get in here and cut a little bit of this off, and we'll just see how this works. This yellow color that's in these geranium leaves is bright, and that looks a little thin. Maybe if I doubled up the volume a little bit. Maybe I'll just cut another piece. This might be one that Julie Torrens sent me. I had one that I had been using, and then Julie sent me one also as a Happy Mail gift. So I can't remember if this was one that originated in my kitchen or if it came in the mail from Julie. Why don't I bunch all of these together? I think that might do okay. Okay, I'm gonna cut these apart. Cut these about in half and then fold them together again. But I think you can see where I'm going here, that just looking at your tag and thinking, do I have something around that could then be repeated? How would that work as a tag topper? I think I'm going to like that. Shall we staple it in place? Let's try that. I have my, oh, not going to fit in there. This is real-time experimentation, isn't it? I used to get nervous about problem solving on camera, but now I just kind of take it as it comes. And I didn't catch very much of it there. Let's see if I do any better here. There might be a better way to do this. I might have been better advised to adhere it down in some way before I did the stapling, but there we go. Let me even this up a little bit. Yes, I like that. It sort of fans out over the top. That is a cute little tag, and I can write about the geraniums in my garden and pop this into my garden journal, and I will be very happy to be using using this little tag. I love that. I love that. What are some other unconventional materials we could use for tag toppers? I think I may have showed you this one before. What's this? That is a little piece of photographic negative. I did a whole project using photo negatives a couple of months ago. I can put the link if you're interested in seeing that. But I had just that little scrap left over, and I stapled it here because stapling or stitching I've found is the best way to attach a lot of these sort of plasticky materials. And I love the look of that photograph negative there. You know, you just glance at it and you know exactly what it is. And it's there with a photograph that was from a calendar of some of the redwood forests. I'm eager to use this card. I think this is going to be a really nice one. So that's another form of unconventional materials. Here's two more. We're going to end up with these. I have, on the front of my gardening notebook that I talk about a lot here because I use it so much. It's my main journal that I use in the summertime beyond my daily. I used on the front of that cover, or the cover of that journal, plant markers, plastic plant markers, and I still had some left over. And my sun gold tomatoes have been doing so well, these cherry tomatoes. And in fact, I harvested what I think is going to be among the last of those tomatoes today. So I thought, why don't I do a little, use one of these leftover plant markers and have that be the top of a tag. I'm going to make this a little more of a traditional tagged shape with this. I usually just cut with my scissors, but I seem to have misplaced my template that I use for tags. I was teaching a small class earlier this week, and I took a lot of my supplies and threw them in a bag and a backpack to take to that class, and I think I haven't unpacked everything yet. I could paste this or glue this whole thing down, but plant markers tend to have a little bit of a curve in this area, that there's a little bit of scoring and a little bit of curling in the lower areas because that's the part that's stuck in the dirt. So let me just kind of cut that part off, and we're just going to glue the top part down and see how that does. But before I do that, I have this little embellishment. I cut this little sweet girl out of a seed catalog, and I just loved that illustration. So let me get her down there first before I put that guy there. I just cut her out in a circle, and this is gumming up because I didn't have my pin in it. This art glitter glue dries so quickly that you can be sorry if you don't cap the bottle up quickly. There she is. I loved this illustration. She's taking a basket of fresh produce over to somebody here, and because I like a little bit of intriguing decoration on the backs of my tags, I'm gonna just fold this over. It gives us a little hint of things, plenty of room to write on the back, and a little bit of interesting decoration on the back. Okay, let me cap this up and straighten this out because I did a little bit of wonky cutting there. Plastic is challenging to cut sometimes because your scissors slide. And let's just take this little plant marker and see how it does for a tag topper. I bet it's going to be great. Again, the 3-in-1 because I'm gluing plastic. because this one is not flexible or floppy like our lace or our ribbon or fabric tag toppers. I don't want this one to be too tall. I don't want it, you know, sticking out really predominantly from the top of the journal. There is our little tag, and I am going to write about how my sun gold tomatoes did in the garden this year. I love this. Oh, I think that's so cute. Put a little bit. I say it's so cute and it's so perfect, and then I go fussing with it. So just a little bit of distressing around that edge. And you know, it's clear that, you know, this is not a digital. This isn't something we purchased. This is junk. This would have been otherwise thrown away, as would be this, you know, these things from a seed catalog. I love making things out of things that, you know, truly are, you know, truly upcycling things that would have otherwise been cast away. There's one other little idea that I had for using a plant marker. This is just a piece of file folder. I'll glue something on the back for writing purposes. I didn't do that before the video. Took a little piece out of a gardening book and a few little colorful scraps from a garden a seed catalog, and glued those together, and I saved another one of my little plant markers. And I'm gonna round these edges, and this is what I have in mind. Haven't tried this yet. My thought was I might have just kind of insert this one. I could glue it down the top, or I could actually put it in, kind of weave it in to this card. So let's see if that will work. It might not, but it might. So my idea is I'm going to cut 2 slits into this card so I can weave this little plant marker in and out. I'm going to mark where I want those to go, and I want to go just slightly beyond. I'm going to use my X-Acto knife here. I'm going to go slightly beyond in my cut either mark there, and I'm going to make another little cut parallel, because I want there to be just a little bit of space in there. This is exciting, isn't it? How's this gonna work? Okay, you can see I got that done. And I think I'm gonna use my ruler as a spacer here, because I do want those 2 slots to be parallel. Now I remember why I didn't put a backer on this. It's because in my planning out, I thought, oh, I can, because that plastic marker is going to be showing on the back, and I can paste some backing paper on it so I have writing space on top there, although it'll be a little bit bumpy. But well, is my blade a little dull? I don't think so. All right, let's see here. Where's my little marker from my calendula that did really, really well in the garden until it got really aphidy. I'm not certain I loved the calendula early in the season, and then it like overnight. It just attracted every aphid in the neighborhood. So I'm not certain it's going to be welcome again in the garden, but I'm sorry. I shouldn't be talking trash about the calendula. That might work. That might work. I might want to do a little bit of decorating, maybe put a little bit of label or something there, but this could work as a tag topper. And, you know, this one is, you know, nice and upright, but I kind of like this one being sort of off kilter. I was thinking that we would cover up that, that corner, but it's probably going to show a little bit. Put it in there, and I'm just going to glue this down. Again, using plastic does give you a whole different sort of creative vibe. But I love it because it's clear this was going to be toss away stuff. It's not going in the trash. It's having a whole new creative life in your junk journal. There we go. I honestly, I don't know that this is my favorite, mainly because it looks like there's kind of a lot of dead space there. So maybe I'll go in and stamp some numbers or something there. But it does give me a different kind of topper. So I hope you had fun with these. Let me just kind of gather around our steps again. Think beyond ribbon. Get out that fabric, that lace, that gauze with your fibrous materials you use as toppers. Use different paper types. Use that corrugated cardboard, the tickets, the other little tags, the playing cards, anything else that's a different paper type can become a tag if you cut it and position it correctly. Use those fun shapes. Repeat them, have them sticking up above the top edge of the tag, and have those shapes act as a tag pull. And then use other fun materials for your tag toppers. Think even about, things like a mesh bag. They can really be useful. That's it for today, guys. I hope you had fun with that, and we'll see you soon.